friends and family here on YouTube, Facebook, and other social media. It has been a while now since I came onto my own YouTube page, especially posting videos or doing lives. But this morning, I need to kind of get back into the swing of things. I don't use this page like most other popular bloggers who seek to entertain or run ads and that type of thing. This is not how I make my living. This is a way of expressing, ideas and viewpoints I have, and to share my opinions about things, particularly when it concerns the law, where it concerns, the Constitution and the rights of individuals, especially when dealing with the, law enforcement. Now, I titled this video, Houston County 20th Circuit Judicial Court has held a Kangaroo Court in on the sides of my movement. And let me elaborate. For those who don't know, I'll start from the beginning. I'm Kevin Saffold, also known as the cop chaser, also known as MrBravoMike. BravoMike meaning black male. And my movement was began out of trying to protect and counter police harassment here in Houston County, Alabama. This is Dothan, a city that is approximately 90 miles north of Panama City, Florida, for those who are not familiar. But anyway, I'm going to speak as though it's your first time on the page and you don't know who I am. Well, I've made, I would say, hundreds of videos involving police interactions, and I don't make my enforcement and people and those in authority taking advantage of their positions, and so I expose them and I hold them accountable for their actions. Whereas, as it relates to me, I've had countless encounters with Dothan Police Department and this, just local law enforcement in general. And the end result of that is a reputation that precedes me. I've had my share of encounters, so I've been in and out of the system, so to speak. But here it is, just 4 years ago, to give you the gist of the story, I was charged with 4 counts of financial exploitation of an elderly person. Well, 3 counts actually, because the law says that if financial exploitation is taking advantage of somebody elderly and exploiting them for their financial resources. Well, about 4 years ago, me and a lady became friends, and she happened to be of elderly age. She was, I believe, 79 at the time in 2018. And when she approached me and needed help finding housing and basically just basic resources. And so we became friends and began to work toward helping her find houses, in which I placed her in several different places until we could find more permanent housing for her. But during the course of that time, we developed also a business relationship, because even though she's 79, she's fully capable and mentally cognizant of everything that has to do with finances. Now, she was, in addition to being 79, she was, matter of fact, she's single, never been married, no kids, very few family members. So she had limited resources. So once her and I became friends, and I would start to help her in pursuing different things that she, benefits that she would be entitled to, uh, we developed a closer friendship. At some point, well, she didn't have transportation, she didn't have housing, but she did have decent enough credit, no income, but with her credit and my income, we could, do things together. So we purchased 2 vehicles. In fact, we purchased 2 vehicles together, to say the least. Well, at some point in time, somebody became aware that she had signed for these vehicles, and these vehicles had been purchased in June of 2018, and here it was in November of 2018. Somehow, DHR and Adult Protective Services, who I guess the responsibility of caring for elderly people and making sure they're not being taken advantage of, rightfully so. And so they became involved and notified, I guess, took her to the police department and said, hey, she sought our legal advice as to, she says that she signed for these cars for a guy, and one of the payments were late, and the finance company called her and said, hey, you 12 days late on the payment. We want to know when can we expect our payment? And so she gave him my number and said, hey, this is Kevin's responsibility. Yeah, I signed for the cars, but he's the one driving them. He's the one supposed to be paying for them. So here's his number. Contact him. Well, the finance company did contact me because I was on the account as an authorized user. It was not a co-sign situation, but she signed entirely on her own. Well, I was taking the trial this past week on September the 29th. It was a 3-day trial. Excuse me. And the jury found that apparently because she 89, I mean, she was 79 at the time, she didn't know what she was doing. Well, the evidence in trial, and here's where I call it a kangaroo court. I explained to the jury, I represented myself in the trial because I knew more about the facts than any lawyer could ever find out in a matter of, matter of days or whatever. But I brought out on the evidence from the witnesses that were subpoenaed by the state. I didn't bring any witnesses, just the state's witnesses. Well, the people who sold the cars testified in court that she was in her right state of mind. Her demeanor, as they observed it, was, of anybody else, she was very knowledgeable and cognizant about what she was doing. She was excited about the process. Well, even the person, alleged victim in this case, testified, and I questioned her on the oath about why she did what she did, and did she understand what she was doing when she did it. Of course she understood. And the agreement was that I would sign and Kevin would pay. Well, this is what she testified to. Well, I asked her, was there anything that caused you and I to, to have, a falling out or disagreement about anything? Well, no. Was there anything that you thought that I did to you that was harmful? No, of course not. Did I ever mistreat you in any kind of way or deceive you? No, of course not. You only helped me and I helped you. Well, why is it that what is there any reason you think I should be in jail for this? She said, of course not. Why would you be going to jail? So in other words, here it is, 3.5 years later. They've able to convince a jury that I did something wrong, but you can't even convince the alleged victim that I did anything wrong. There's a problem with that. She didn't sign a warrant. She didn't take out a complaint. The police did. And so everybody said they're not guilty. Everybody said they're wrongly convicted. But exactly how do you weigh this evidence if the victim herself saying that I knew what I was doing, I'm convicted of a crime. The crime is allegedly taking advantage of someone. Well, I can't seem to explain it any better that when you talk about age, the governor of our state is 79 years old or 78. The president of our country, the commander in chief, is over 80. So the age factor alone does not say that the person is not in their right mind can't buy a vehicle, knowing that they're not going to drive the vehicle. The lady's 79 years old. She won't drive a Dodge Ram that's sitting on a 20-inch rim. She can't drive that vehicle. She said herself, he offered me to drive it. I had no intention of driving it. We're business partners. He's supposed to drive it and take me where I need to go. And now they made a big deal out of the fact that the truck cost $40,000. Well, the one that I'm sitting in cost $50,000. But what's the big deal about the cost of the vehicle? And so here it is. And I'm trying to lay out in a short period of time what the evidence is. If somebody go out and Google it, I mean, look at the facts of the case. I want people to know why is it that they're trying to send a black activist to prison, somebody who calls them out and exposes them and hold them accountable. Why is it important for you to send me to prison? Why is it necessary after 3.5 years? What have I done illegal to begin with besides bought and paid for some cars? I submitted the paperwork of the bills that I paid. I had the cars approximately 5 months and made 4 payments before they were seized by the police. Does anybody see the fallacy in this? I mean, really? Does anybody see the fallacy in this? Nobody has suffered anything. The lady did not pay a payment. I did. The lady did not pay the down payment. I did. All these things were submitted into the evidence that I purchased some cars by use of someone else's credit, but with their permission. Everything that was done with their permission. Where is the crime? It's an atrocity when you can. I believe in the system wholeheartedly. And for those who don't know, I've gone to trial. This was my 7th jury trial in the same courtroom, basically the same courthouse, the 20th Circuit Judicial Court in Houston County, Alabama, which is the city of Dothan. I've gone to trial 7 separate times, each time facing a life sentence. I'm scheduled to be sentenced on September 27th on 3 Class B felonies. These are very serious charges, by the way. 3 Class C felonies. And in Alabama, to my knowledge, there has been no other individual tried by a jury. Nobody has been convicted by a jury of this crime at this point in Alabama. I'm the first. And so the judge trying to explain the elements of the crime could not seem to do so. It took him 30 minutes to even explain to the jury what they're supposed to find me guilty of. This is how ridiculous and asinine this whole process is. And I was arrested in 2018 along with my wife at the time, in Terica Mayfield. We were engaged then, and she was indicted, but the grand jury, they indicted her one time, till around 3 years later, took it back before the grand jury, and the grand jury no billed it. Help me understand. How is it that she was indicted, but the charges was dropped? I was indicted, and I stood trial and was convicted of 3 counts of financial exploitation. Now I like to get input from people. And I'm doing this on my YouTube page because it has a much wider audience and viewership than my other social media pages. There are 21,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I don't expect every person on here to agree with what I'm saying, but I want to get input from people and help me understand the significance of how this trial went down. If I'm charged with stealing something, because really, financial exploitation of the elderly is a glorified theft charge. It is theft from an elderly person by means of either manipulation, either coercion, threats of coercion, threat of force or harm, undue influence is what the judge explained to them. Undue influence is me preventing someone from exercising a free choice and a free decision. Whether the person who they saying I took advantage of is now 83 years old and suffering from some diminished, memory or whatever, loss of memory, but yet she remembers everything I asked her. Did you sign your name to buy these cards? Yes, I did. Did you have intent to pay for them? No, I didn't. Well, who was going to pay for them? Well, Kevin was going to pay for them. Was this a business relationship between the two of you? Yes, it was business. I did my part. He did his part. So she don't see the harm in it, and we in a mutual agreement. There's nothing saying that she can't make these decisions. And age, although it's a factor, but her mental capacity is even more a factor. If DHR brought the charge, wouldn't you think that at least DHR would show up in court? At least someone from a wouldn't some doctor come to court and say, hey, you know what? This lady was not capable of making these type of decisions and this type of free choice. This was influenced upon her. This was forced upon her. This was, she was under some type of undue influence. There was no one that testified to that. And the only evidence is that what comes out of the witness box. The state didn't present any DHR worker. The state didn't present any psychological worker that says that challenge her capacity or diminish uh, mental capacity. The state didn't present anyone from the car dealerships who said that she was seeming to be out of touch with reality, or out of touch with out of tune with what was going on. The state didn't present that. They presented just the opposite. So I'm trying to figure out how in the hell did the jury reach the conclusion. But let me just back up. And the reason why I brought this to YouTube instead of Facebook. On YouTube, I have, the last time I checked, because I don't really keep up with it, I had over 1.5 million views of various videos. So people on YouTube have some idea of my background, some idea of my movement, some idea of my platform and what I stand for, and how it affects law enforcement by keeping them accountable. At the very least, it makes me a pain in the ass for local police, right? And if you watch any of the videos, I don't post everything on YouTube. I post most of it on social media on the local sites, such as my Facebook, because people know, and those are the people I'm trying to educate, right? In my own community. It starts with home. And so people who know me and know me personally, not those who know my reputation, but those who know me personally know that I've always had nice cars. I mean, that's my taste. I like to drive nice things, and I don't mind working, hustling, and paying for them. When I have a criminal background, a criminal history, and I borrow a quote from the late Malcolm X. It is not a disgrace to have been a criminal; it's a disgrace to remain one. And so, for the last 8 years, all I've done was commit myself to helping other people and educate them about their rights and protect them from uh, overzealous, trigger-happy police. This is what I've done for 8 years. I don't do it for money. I don't have a nonprofit. I don't take up donations. Nobody on this YouTube, out of 21,000 subscribers, nobody on this YouTube page even has my Cash App name. Nobody on here has any type of payment information to donate money. I've never even requested money. So if I was scheming, why would I go and find an 80-year-old woman with a $750 income to scheme from? If I was scheming when I went and bought the cars, why would I pay full payments toward the cars and other bills that were accumulated? Why would I be making payments of my criminal intent? In this particular case, it's a theft charge, so it's what's called a specific intent. You have to have criminal intent, and it has to be specific, not general intent, such as other crimes. Oh, you meant to do the crime, so it's whatever happened, happened. No, a theft charge is a specific intent crime, meaning that you have to specifically intend to commit the crime of theft and pending results. You had to know that you were going to not going to pay for these vehicles, that you were going to fraud the victim out of the property with no intention to return it or pay for it. That's what specific intent of a crime of theft would be, larceny and theft. I had to intend to steal the property, which is the trucks and car, and I had to intend not to pay for them. I had to intend for them to be repossessed. Well, that couldn't be so if I made payments on both of the vehicles and neither one of them was in default, but yet the police came and confiscated them. Here's the crazy part about it, though. If the person had a $750 income and went to a car lot to buy a $43,000 Dodge Ram pickup, then the car lot, according to them, she could not have bought the car anyway. According to their own testimony, she could not have bought the first car, let alone 2 cars. Okay, so how did the finance company in the car lot manage to sell an 80-year-old lady 2 cars with a $750 income? Well, I'll tell you how they did it. Well, they knew she was with me, and they knew that I had an income, and they knew that we were buying the cars as a partnership. They knew that, right? They knew it was a straw purchase. In other words, somebody purchasing the car for me. They knew that. They suggested that. Let her sign on her own because she has a 733 credit score. It'll automatically be approved because, hey, her credit score is high. Well, it was revealed in court that Kevin Saffold, although he accompanied her, he did not stand in the room while she did the paperwork. He did not submit anything. He did not fill out that credit application. He did not submit her income. But it was determined in the trial and through the evidence, the documents, that someone put her income down at 4,200. Well, it doesn't take a rocket science out to figure out who put her income down at 4,200. It definitely wasn't Kevin Saffold because Kevin Saffold didn't fill out the application. I wasn't in the room when the application was submitted. So it had to be someone from the car lot because the 80-year-old woman definitely didn't do it. But let's move past that because they wasn't concerned about that part. The trial didn't consist about evidence. It was consist about my reputation and how bad of a guy I was to use the old lady's credit to buy a car. Well, even one of the witnesses testified that from the car lot that this is done every day. And in fact, her mother bought her a car. She's over 70 years old. Where's the crime? If age diminishes capacity, then we don't need Joe Biden as a president. And it's not me saying I don't support Joe Biden, but I'm just saying, how do we have an 80-year-old president if we question the sanity and mental capacity of people strictly because of their age? It's ridiculous. But here's something I want you all, and the reason why I brought it to YouTube instead of other social media sites, where you all have heard most of my videos. If you haven't, go back and look at them. There's over 1.5 million views, and I only have 33 videos. I don't do this every day, but 1.5 million people have watched the videos and put thousands and thousands of comments, and this video has been shared everywhere. My point being, out of a jury venire, you have so many people in the jury venire but have to be qualified before they get to the final selection process. Well, in that selection process, there's a process called voir dire. That's a Latin term for a questionnaire, where you get to question the potential jurors in order to qualify or disqualify those who either biased, impartial, in favor one way or the other, or don't seem to think they can sit in judgment for some religious reasons or whatever. They can't sit in judgment of you. Well, only one person out of 54 people in this venire admitted on the questionnaire, on the oath, that they knew of me or heard of me or was familiar with the case. One person out of 54. Why is that significant? I live in a town that has roughly 80 to 100,000 people, somewhere in that neighborhood, and 40% of those are black. Well, my jury consisted of 10 white people and 2 blacks. Well, out of the 2 blacks, there was a man who was about age 63, and the woman was about mid-30s. Neither one of them knew me, and that's understandable. Okay, you might not know me. I ain't the most popular person in the world, but out of 54 people, only one person admitted knowing me, and she knew me from social media. And there was a site here in Dothan that predominantly white people frequent this site. That's just what it is. It's a site that it's just like if you go on a black dating site, you expect to see predominantly black people. When you go on this particular site, Wiregrass Live, you'll see predominantly white people. And this is a site of a group have me as a topic of conversation. I'm discussed, I'm criticized, I'm vilified, whatever you want to call it. This is the site they go and bash MrBravoMike, aka Kevin Saffold. And that's fine. I don't, I don't have no qualms with that. But I don't want these people sitting on my damn jury because they're not a jury of my peers. They're not the people who would be impartial and unbiased against me. They won't hear the evidence. They won't review the evidence and come back with a conclusion based on the evidence alone. They'll form their opinions based on what they think they know about me and how they feel about me. And that's not lawful. That's all I'm saying. I've been in 7 jury trials. I believe in the system and it works both ways. It's a two-edged sword. But it cannot be fair and it cannot be relied upon when people lie to get on the jury. Out of the 12 people who were selected, well, let's just stay with the 54 first. Out of the 54 people, only one of them admitted to knowing me and then she admitted to having animosity against me because I blocked her. She commented something negative. We had some words she say, and I blocked her. And she felt some type of way about that, so she went and Googled me, and she seen my background and history. That's an honest person. Although she admitted not liking me and me not liking her and me blocking her, that's an honest person. White, black, or brown, I can care less. I would rather have been judged by her than I would be judged by 12 lying people, or at least 10. Because I don't think that out of the 54 people, only one of them knew me in a town that don't consist of but 80,000. I'm the most vocal, the most rambunctious, rebellious, militant, you know what I mean, whatever you want to call it, individual in the whole town. I'm the only person in my town who does this. I'm the only person in my town. You're not gonna find anybody else in Dothan who has, you know, a platform such as mine, critical of police and critical of law enforcement. Now, not to be mistaken, I have family in law enforcement. Some have even worked in this system. I don't have a problem with law enforcement, as in peace officers. I don't have a problem with district attorneys and enforcing laws and judges passing sentences and making sure we maintain some semblance of orders in the community. I don't have a problem with that. I champion justice. My organization, Solution for Justice, is about finding the answers to injustice, standing up for people who can't necessarily speak for themselves or don't have the money to hire attorneys and this type of stuff. I try to lead by example. I've been to trial 7 times, been to trial 3 times without an attorney, facing life each time. I had 3 trials in the last 8 years. I started doing what I'm doing now 8 years ago. Can anybody see the correlation between what they trying to prove and what actually is reality? I started videotaping and filming the police in 2014 when they came to my house and tried to basically break my door down. Those videos on my Facebook page. I probably didn't share it on YouTube, but yeah, they basically tried to chop my door down based on, you know, some whatever they were doing. But anyway, from that time to now, I've been videotaping police here in Dothan, Alabama. And since that time up until now, 2014, I have been constantly harassed and vilified in the media and harassed by local police and hated on by local, you know, people who don't know me. They made me out to be such a bad guy. Well, how is it I'm such a bad guy that you arrested me so many times I can't keep count of it? And in the last 8 years I've been under indictment for 8 years straight, since 2014. And I've gone to trial 3 times for 3 separate types of felonies. 3 separate times my life has been placed in jeopardy. But anyway, how many people on here believe that out of 54 people in such a small town that nobody knows the loudest mouth in town, that you've never heard of me? Well, that's asinine. Let's get past that part. How many of you believe that out of these jurors that's lying, they have a hidden agenda, or ulterior motive for being on the trial? Either they think it's going to be high profile, they may be interviewed about it, they may want to write a book about it, they may want to, I don't know, they want to blog about it. And one of the jury members was local media, been in media for 20 years. How in the hell does she not know who I am? You've been in media 20 years, lady. You cover all the stories. My wife just ran for political office last year, and you covered all the election, but you don't know me or her. She was on the same case, indicted with me, on the news with me, appeared in court with me every day, walked in the courtroom holding hands. But you've never heard of her or me. Well, Kevin, why is that so significant? You keep harping about the jury knew you and they didn't say it and whatever, but you did whatever they. I never denied driving the cars. I never denied paying for the cars. They accused me of stealing. They accused me of stealing 2 vehicles that I'm paying notes on. If you don't believe me, I'll post the notes. It's on my Facebook page. Kevin Saffold. Just go look up Kevin Saffold, Dothan, Alabama, and look at the page. It's for the public to see. And I've just put on there the payments, just some of the payments, not all of them, but some of the payments that were made on the vehicle. How do you steal something that you're paying for? How do you show criminal intent? Because every crime known to man on the books must start with first some intention, criminal intention. The intention to deliberately go commit a crime, and knowing when you did it, it was a crime, knowing you did it, what was going to be the outcome, that you wasn't going to pay and that you wasn't going to return the property. You knew that from the beginning. That's what they had to prove. That's what the law says. They have to prove that I intentionally stole this stuff, knowing that I was not going to pay for them. But I drove them off the lot, went and put personalized tags on them, drove them 5 months, and parked them at my house every day. That negates anything to do with a fraud, and especially when the alleged victim says, I did it as a business relationship. I did it as a favor. He was helping me. I was helping him. That's the relationship we had. Where's the crime? Now, I don't, like, as I said in the beginning, I don't expect everybody to believe me or take my word for it. But I expect everybody, if you're gonna hold me in judgment, then at least be truthful about the circumstances. Don't overlook and glass over the facts in favor of what you think about me. If you think I was wrong and I should not have done it, why would you use the old lady? Well, the lady just happened to be 79. It ain't like she an old lady that's feeble out of her mind. This is a lady who testified. She's been writing a book since high school. She graduated from high school with 1 year of college, and she's been writing a book ever since. And she won't let anybody read the book because she's just that private. Here it is, a person who lives alone at 83 now, 4 years after this happened, lives alone, 100% independent. Nobody has control over her finances. Nobody helps her pay her bills. Nobody uh, controls her finances. So how is it that you can drag her in court and try to make her seem as though she can be easy to take advantage of? She's vulnerable by age alone, but that's the only reason. The judge can even force her to answer certain questions because she's private and she don't believe in telling people, strangers, her damn business. So I was considered to be not so much a stranger. I'm a friend to her, and she told them as much. But that's not what they want to hear. What they want to hear is, hey, you afraid of this guy. This guy took advantage of you. You should want him in jail. But no, that's not the case. Well, if the victim don't believe that, how were you able to convince 12 damn jury members? That's just a question, a mystery to me. How did you convince 12 jury members? Well, these jury members had to be convinced before they came in the courtroom. They had to already believe that I was guilty of something and needed to be locked up because they weren't concerned about the evidence. There were 5 witnesses who testified in my trial. Let me just start from the first to the last. The first 2 people actually were the people from the dealership who sold the cars. Both, well, 3 of them actually, 3 people. The one who submitted the records to the court, she testified to the records, and they were accurate and complete. And the second person was a salesperson. The third person was a salesperson. All of them testified that the deal that took place at the car lot was a legit deal. They met her. They talked with her. They explained everything to her. She understood what was going on. She signed it willingly, voluntarily, knowing it. That was their testimony from the state's witnesses. So who am I supposed to call to contest that? Nobody, because they already admitted to the truth. That's verse 3. Then you bring in a lady that works at the dental office where we paid for some dental service that were already being done. I was already having porcelain crown put on my teeth, and I had been going to this dentist for at least 3 years. I had already paid over $5,000. It was like 2.5 years, something like that. It was a treatment plan that I had ongoing, and I paid $5,000 in cash because I know I make videos and do media. I, felt like this was necessary for me as a business move to go and get my teeth corrected, right? Because being in prison, as you know, one of the things that's going to deteriorate is the dental work because they don't have good dentistry. They believe in pulling your teeth but not fixing them, okay? So it was necessary to go get dental work because I didn't feel confident and satisfied with the way my teeth were at that time. So that was something I did out of my own pocket. But once her and I went into our business relationship, we combined our resources together. So using the credit card was a mutual understanding between the two of us. I would pay for it, and so there's no harm done. I'm gonna pay for the bill, so there's no harm in using this credit card. This is how she can help me and I can help her. It's business. I have various business relationships with other people. Some are of this age, and some are not. So there's no crime in that. I've had someone 7, 8 years old, even after this happened, came to me and said, hey man, I want to, help you out. I want to see what I can do to help you out. I see what they're doing to you. And I know it's some bullshit, but this is a person who met me through social media now. One of my, social media friends. But we became personal friends, and she kind of took me in as like a surrogate mother and made a $10,000 loan to me since this has happened. And so it was a loan. So I paid it back. I paid back the $10,000. Since this happened. Also, since this happened, I've also acquired other vehicles since this happened. One I'm driving in is a damn 2018 Tahoe that cost $50,000. That means more than the one that I was accused of stealing. So I'm still riding a damn $50,000 vehicle that was purchased in someone else's name for my benefit, for the benefit of my business, for me to continue to do with it as I do. People support what I do. The whole entire time support what I do, except a few disgruntled people and people who side with the police. And when I say white folks, I be wanting to clarify this. When I say when the white folks is trying to bring me down, this is not generally speaking about Caucasian people. This is what we use in hood terms as being the police. The government, the system is predominantly the Constitution was written and predominantly designed to protect white people. This is just the truth of the matter. This ain't a racial animus against somebody else. Most of my people that I deal with on the business level happen to be Caucasian people, so they know that I don't have a prejudice or racist bone in my body. Because I would have to think and be ignorant to think that I'm better than somebody else because of my skin color or because of my race. I don't believe that I'm superior to you or someone else because my skin is darker than yours. We were made different in that sense, but we are all made by the same God. So we know that's foolishness. I don't subscribe to that. I don't preach or promote animosity or racial division whatsoever. So let's get that part understood. But for those who sat in judgment of me, they don't know that. They don't believe that. They don't believe that I have more white people on my page commenting and agreeing with what I'm saying than I do probably black people. That's not a strike against my own people. That's just a fact. The white people have a tendency to engage in it, and they have a tendency overall, for the most part, and I'm not stereotyping people, but for the most part, the people over here, the intelligent people, require proof of something. They require show and tell. They from the Missouri state. You're not going to tell me any damn thing. And some of my people have a tendency not to read, for instance, the details. They say if you want to hide something from a black person, you put it in between the pages of a book. That's not my saying, but that's just what it is. And this is what led me to start making videos as opposed to posting a 30-minute written post. You wouldn't read it, but you would sit here 30 minutes and listen. And so my point is, my audience consists of a diverse group of people. I don't target, just go after one group of people for my knowledge. When I say Bravo Mike, and it does stand for black male, that's the terminology that the police use to describe black men in general. Okay, so again, that's like, it's not a derogatory term. It's just a term that I've taken in and took possession of the term and put Mr. in front of it. Make it a term of honor and prestige. I've taken the negativity out of it and used it for my own self. If you're gonna call me a black male, call me Mr. first. It's a matter of respect. I don't look down at some people because they say, for instance, if you're a member of a group and that group having to advance the advancement of Caucasian people or black people, like the NAACP is the Negro Advancement for Colored People or whatever. I don't think that's a racial group. It's just a group of empowerment group. I don't think they preach hate. I'm not a member of the NAACP, but I don't think they preach hate. It's just a group that was founded by black people to protect and advance black people. So that's what it is. Colored people, as they say. But anyway, back to the subject at hand. The white people in my community seem to be convinced that because I'm in Alabama and because the state is so known for its racial animosity and bigotry, then apparently I must be filled with hate and animosity against white folk. That ain't true. I mean, if anybody really knew the truth, I got some friends of mine who I sit down with and call colleagues, and some of them attorneys, some of them, other business people, and we have a mutual admiration and respect for one another. We come to each other's houses and birthday parties and gatherings and whatnot. We support one another. Color has not been a factor with me and these people. And so I just kind of rule that out. Do I see color like everybody? Yeah, of course I do. Do I know the history of black and white America? Of course I do. But this victim happened to be, alleged victim happened to be an African American. I'm happened to be an African American, so race should not play a part, right? Right. But the jury now, that's a whole nother discussion. This jury of 12, and although 2 of them black, I didn't scratch anybody because of their color. Now, I did strike some people because of their age, because I thought somebody 79 or 80 may be more likely to sympathize, but maybe that was faulty thinking. Maybe I should have kept the older people because the older people could speak from that perspective. If you 79 years old in your right mind, could you not go out and buy a car for your business partner? Could you not go out and sign for these things? You don't have the money, but he does. How else do we do business deals unless we find financial resources and income or whatever to put together? You have to have the credit and the income to go out and buy something. But anyway, this is where we are. Here it is. I'm a self-proclaimed activist and advocate on behalf of the less fortunate, especially on behalf of black men who don't know the law, don't have the money to hire lawyers, don't have the intelligence to articulate their rights and defend themselves. I made it a cause. I made it a platform. And I made it a point not to do it for money. I made it a point not to run ads, not to run my cash app, not to ask for money in return. I made it a point not to do it because it allows people to question, rightfully so, your motive and agenda. What it is he's trying to do. He wants to get on Facebook and YouTube and make these videos and become popular, all so he can drive these nice cars. Well, I drive nice cars based on my ability to earn money and pay the note. And so the minute I can't do that, then the minute they'll repossess them. But it's not to impress somebody else, it's to go to and from. And I don't think it should be a crime to want to go out and buy a nice vehicle. I don't think it should be a crime as long as you can afford to pay for it. Even if you couldn't pay for it, wouldn't that be civil? Have anybody on here, out of the thousands and millions of people on YouTube, have anybody in here ever heard of anybody being arrested for going to do such a transaction? To buying a vehicle and paying for it? Have anybody been arrested for that? I don't know if anybody, and I follow the law extensively. I don't know of anybody who's been arrested for something like that foolish. But anyway, I didn't mean to come on here and be long-winded, but this is a story that's ongoing, need to be told. And so now, if those who wonder where has MrBravoMike been, where's the cop chaser, why he's making videos, well, for the past 3.5 years, I've been fighting for my life. I had to force them to take me to trial for 3.5 years before the victim would die. Well, they knew that either one or two things would happen. Either she would either lose interest altogether, may pass away at her age under the pandemic. This woman should have been gone by their rights, but God had another plan. She don't have any pre-existing illnesses or ailments that would prevent her from doing anything. It's why she lived and lived by herself to this day. They thought maybe she would lose her mind, be mentally ill, incapacitated, couldn't come to court, could never tell the truth and clear my name. So me going to prison is not the most significant thing that can happen out of this. The most significant thing that can happen is that you've used someone, a 79-year-old lady who is now 83, you've used her and her alleged vulnerability, which she don't even have. You've used that to bring down and convict the most vocal opponent of your corrupt system. Does that not strike a heart to anybody? Does that not seem out of character, out of the ordinary, or out of, touch with the facts? When you know the facts, you know the details of the case, and you understand the law about it, which I expect that, at some point it would come out eventually. But now I'm in a position where if I don't go out and play their game, because I don't believe in going to give the lawyers 30, 40, 50,000 and mortgage in my house off of trying to pay lawyers. But in this case, they pretty much leaving me no choice. I guess the only way I can come out here and get the truth told is go out and hire one of their colleagues to defend me. It's about the only way the truth gonna come out. But the truth came out and it was ignored. So I guess the only way to find justice is to buy justice. I have to afford to pay an attorney to represent me because you don't want to respect the truth coming from me because I've defeated them in trial without a lawyer. So that's an insult. Could they afford to go to trial 3 times back to back in 8 years and lose to a person with a GED? I don't think so. This would be an ultimate insult for them. They may well close the courthouse down if they can find a jury that convict me, or if I could have had a jury of my peers to fairly and impartially hear the evidence, I would have been acquitted. This is not the voice or the comments or response of a sore loser. I've been to trial again, like I say, 7 times. I've won 4 of them, and the state has won 3. I've overturned in appellate court 5 different guilty pleas, so I have extensive experience and background with the system and know how it works. And so I respect it when it don't work in my favor. Hey, it just wasn't, it wasn't meant. They agreed with the state, and that's what it is. But I cannot, in this lifetime, accept that as a fair verdict when you have people lying just to get on the jury. People who knew who I was, knew the circumstances of the case, and knew the details of the case through media, social media, and mass media, and through YouTube and other places, but yet denied it under oath. So in my motion for new trial and my motion to request a mistrial, these things gonna be brought out, and these people have to get on the stand and tell these lies once again. And I want to be able to delve into their history and to their background and knowledge. Some of these people have been on my page. Some of these people have gone on after my trial and followed me on Facebook. Why would jurors who just convicted me 2 days ago, knowing I haven't been sentenced yet, the case is still open if you ask me, because I hadn't been sentenced to prison, and they're researching my Facebook page. So how many of you all, the thousands of viewers here, believe that out of these 54 people questioned and qualified, that only one of them knew who I was? That's the whole crux of it. I mean, the fact that I paid the notes and never had intention to steal anything to begin with is obvious through the evidence and the witnesses. So someone would say, Kevin, if they convicted you, man, they had to have something. What the hell are you leaving out? What did they submit to the jury? Out of those 5 witnesses, you haven't told us yet what they said to convict you. Well, let's go back. the officer who made the charge, the investigator. Well, he had been a police officer for 10 years, but he had been an investigator for like 4 months when this took place. Well, remember, the crime allegedly occurred in June 7th and 9th when I purchased the vehicles, but I wasn't arrested until November after being 12 days later on the pavement. So this was 5 months after the fact. So nobody can testify, at least the officer can't testify to her state of mind when she bought the cars. The only people who could testify to that was the alleged victim and the 2 car salesmen, right? And then the person who accepted payment at the dental office. Well, the person who accepted payment at the dental office made it known that she did not approve of me. She didn't like me. She had already said in a previous hearing that I reminded her of her ex-husband who ruined her credit. Maybe he was tall, dark, and handsome. I don't know. But anyway, she looked at me like the ex-husband. Baby, I'm not him. So why would you get on the stand and spit all this venom and animosity? But at the end of the day, your testimony is she knew what she was doing. I explained it to her. I tried to talk her out of it, but she trusted him. She just trusted him. It's a shame the way he did her, but she trusted him. Well, who are you to say how shameful it was? And she telling the whole court and anybody who would listen, I did it for him because he did things for me, and I did it for him because I knew he could pay for it. In the discussion. So now what's the next witness? The next witness is the officer. The officer testified as to what she told him. She told him this, she told him that. He looked at the paperwork. Out of 3.5 years of investigation, he said that he didn't go and interview the car lot witnesses because he believed another officer had already done it. But it's your case, Officer Daniel Grantham, Detective Daniel Grantham. It's your case. How does somebody else supposed to go out and question witnesses in your case? What are you doing? She came to you on one day, and 2 hours later, you went and issued a warrant for me without questioning the people who sold her the cars? Is that not a rush to judgment? I don't know what is. 3.5 years later, witnesses take the stand. Did any detective come to see you? No. Did the detective, you ever met Detective Daniel Grantham here? Did he ever question? No. So when the crime happened, 5 months after you sold the cars, nobody questioned you? No. How did you hear about it? Well, I heard about it through my job, through the dealership. And then I sent them the news, but I've never been questioned about it. Well, when were you contacted about coming to court? Well, last Friday. What do you mean, the 26th of August? 4 years after it happened? The DA came to me on Friday and told me to be in court Monday, so here I am. So nobody questioned the witnesses at the car lot for a whole 4 years. Nobody went to them and asked them until it was time to come to trial. So the witnesses contradicted what the officer said. Well, the dinner ladies told the truth. They came in. Kevin had been a patient here for many years, and we had problems in the past by him paying late, so I didn't think it was a good idea. But she admitted, well, she was the one who recommended me to come in with care credit. I've been paying you for 2.5 years out of my pocket, but you recommend I go get a care credit card and pay my bill off because you don't want to wait for the rest of the year to the end of the year for me to pay you. You wanted it all in one lump sum. So you said I had to bring someone. They couldn't use it by phone. I had to bring them to the office and consent and make sure they understood the charges. Well, this is what I did. I followed her direction and her recommendation. I went and got someone with a better credit score than mine, with a credit card already, that would use it to pay for my bill. That I would pay the payments on the bill, naturally, but they would use it, and okay, cool, that's fine. And we did that. Where's the crime? But anyway, those are the witnesses. Those are the only witnesses. So where's the DHR worker, Kevin? Didn't somebody from DHR come in and testify about the old lady being incapacitated, mentally ill, unstable, whatever, Alzheimer's, dementia? Didn't somebody come in and speak to her mental awareness? No. So there was no DHR working in the courtroom. No, nobody from DHR, nobody. Well, why did they assume that you took advantage of her? Because she has a bad memory, because she can't remember everything that happened that day? Well, what about the things that concern to the cars and her name? Did she identify her signature? Yes. Did she identify her initial 20 times? Yes. Did she say why she did it? Yes. Did she say whether or not she was in her right mind when she did it? But she didn't say otherwise. The state didn't present otherwise. Nobody asked her. Nobody asked her about her mental condition. Nobody asked her. So where did the evidence come from, Kevin? What did the evidence come from that she was mentally incapable or you took advantage of her exercise your desire over her, that you prevented her from making a free choice? Where did the evidence come from? Did it come from the witness stand? No, it did not. The prosecutor made a compelling argument to the jurors that this guy you're looking at is a predator. He preyed on the old lady. He took advantage of her. Nobody else is responsible for this but him. He wants to defer to the car lot and saying that they were predatory lenders and they had the responsibility to make sure that the income was right. Well, did they not? Did the car not have a responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility, an obligation under the law to make sure that this woman could pay for this with her income? Did they not know that? Did they not know that legally I should have signed on as a co-signer and then it would have been strictly legit, right? Well, the crime is not whether I signed or not. The crime is that I intended to steal the cars. I intended to deprive her of them. And I'm still trying to figure out where the evidence came from. And as many of you should be wondering, where did the evidence come from to convict me? To put my life in jeopardy, I'm facing a life sentence as sentencing comes on September the 28th. And by the way, my birthday, my born day will be September 27th. And so I'll turn 55 on that day. And on the following day, on the 28th, these people intend to send me to prison. They intend for me to be taken away from my family, from my wife, kids, my dog, my cars. For the end for me on September the 28th because I intend to steal some cars that I was paying for. So that's the gist of it. I continue to be on YouTube. I continue to share the details. I continue to upload the paperwork because everything I say, I mean what I say and say what I mean, and I back it up with the facts. Contrary to what the state has done, they have managed to convict me of a crime that really a crime don't even exist. I'm not saying a crime I didn't commit because no crime was committed by anybody, me or nobody else. You can't pay for cars and then be accused of stealing them too. So I encourage all feedback, comments. I encourage any views that may not even agree with my own. I encourage even legal experts to weigh in. I encourage people who have knowledge of this to weigh in. And you may not always agree with me, but whether you think I was right, wrong, or indifferent, or whatever the case may be, was it a crime? Have they proved me guilty of a crime? Or is it the crime of being Bravo Mike? Is it the crime for knowing my rights and standing up for mine as well as others? Is that the crime? Sometimes you can be too smart for your own good and people don't like you. I teach my daughter every day. Just because you smart, intelligent, just because you cute and wear nice clothes to school, just because you may live in a nice house or whatever and got, pretty dogs, don't mean people gonna like you and whatever. You're not gonna be popular because you got all this stuff. You'll probably be hated because of it. They're not gonna like you because of me. Understand that. People at school are not gonna like you because she attends a school that's a private Christian school. And there might be a handful of African American kids there. Well, she don't have a problem with it. I mean, she is the only African American child in her classroom. She don't have a problem with it. So neither do I. She's not singing a lot because of it, so we don't have a problem with that, right? But don't think these people are gonna like you when they know who your father is. It'd be the opposite. They probably won't like you, but they're not gonna mistreat you. That's for damn sure. And so, black, white, or otherwise, you're gonna go to school, get your education, and you're not there to be liked. Understand that. But anyway, as always, I greet you all in the name of love and salute you in the spirit of peace. I continue to do these videos from now on. YouTube will probably be the platform because I want a broader audience to understand what's going on and to weigh in on it. I value your comments. I read each and every one of them and keep in mind one thing. You don't have to agree with me. I don't have to agree with you. We'll be respectful in our comments, and if not, I'll just block it. But otherwise, uh, give me your input. Tell me what you think. If you have any knowledge or insight that might be helpful to me, I don't have all the answers. I'm seeking input as well as support, but I haven't asked you for a dime because it's not about money. It's about justice and about the truth being told and about people being judged fairly and not by some uh, immaterial fact. You don't like me, so you must be guilty of something, you know. And that's what I want to do. I want to correct that impression in people's mind. I want people to engage. And so I've taken up enough of your time. I appreciate you staying tuned. As always, peace until next time. Let's see here. This is my morning routine. I got to figure out now, how do we end the ladder? That goes to show I don't do this too often.